Guys, there are so many things that makes a good company a good one. There are a lot of parameters, aspects, however you want to call them. So there are profits, there are some management skills, goals, objectives, are we moving in the right direction, how many customers do we have, and so on. But if you have me in your company, then by default, you're a good one. That's how simple it is. Hi guys, how are you today? If you want to know how I'm let's say good. I believe that you have watched my previous episodes and that you know that I have moved to a new company recently. And what to tell you? There are a lot of good things, there are some bad things, but overall I think that it was a good decision. But nevertheless, I have been there for I don't know, a few weeks now, and I decided to make this episode just to make a comparison between one company and another. This is not about me bad mouthing the previous company. I was just thinking about because it is completely different the way of work, the management, the skills, the people, the hectic atmosphere, and so on. There is so much difference between those companies that I was thinking about okay, what makes a good company a good one? So why this company is a good company and that company is, let's say, bad? I mean, it's not, let's say it's not so good. And of course, the first thing and the obvious thing is revenues, profits. Because we all know all companies in the world, they exist because of money. Company exists to make money. That's why they are here. If company doesn't make any kind of revenue, it will not have any kind of profits. It doesn't make sense to have a company that doesn't make profit. Why? Simply, it's not logical. So obviously, if you have, but you have to be careful. Only because some company has revenues or has profits, it doesn't mean necessarily that it's a good company. Okay? Maybe you have profits this year by some coincidence, but it doesn't guarantee you that you will have those kind of profit next year. Maybe you will, I don't know, go bankrupt next year. That's why there are a lot of factors you have to take into consideration while you're evaluating a company. But nevertheless, if you're not making profits, then certainly you are not a good company. Okay, maybe if you are a startup and then you have some external investments and you're just in this early phase of building up your company, then of course you will not have profits and so on, but that's a completely different story. Let's say for this comparison that we will have companies that have been around for several years. Those are not startups anymore, and if you have a company that's not profitable, why do you have it? Okay, then second thing, agile. If you're in IT industry, so in some kind of software development or so on, this word is very familiar to you, but I will try to explain you. This is not 1997 anymore, it's 2025. The world is changing. We have AI, this, that. This technology is so propellant, it's so moving forward so quickly that if you're not keeping pace with the world and with the inventions and with the progress, then you will be left behind. If you're not moving forward, you're stagnating, but in business, stagnation is the same thing as moving backwards. So you are going in the wrong direction. So not moving forward is not an option. You always have to move forward. You always have to be better and so on. Agile is a capacity of you, the management, the board, the team, whoever, to be able to respond quickly to those changes in the world, in the industry, and so on, and to adapt quickly, to adapt new technology, to produce new kinds of product, to incorporate different kinds of technology very quickly in your products, to be up to date, to be on the leading edge of your industry, and so on. So you have to be agile. Being in a company that's like a bureaucracy where everyone is sitting down and just typing some shit like administrative mumbo jumbo, these are companies that will bankrupt. They will disappear. In the long run, it's only a matter of time when they will disappear. Then, next thing, what a good company, we are talking about what makes a company a good one. Next thing is to be able to work in full capacity. So not only that you have tools, maybe your computers, maybe your, I don't know, different kinds of helpers, I don't know, whoever, you also have people in your company. And if you don't use those people and their skills and the tools that they have to the full capacity, you're not utilizing them in a right manner. Of course, you will not be able to put 100% and be 100% in full capacity all the time, but by running deliberately in second gear in 20%, when you know that you can be in the fifth gear and sixth gear, that's just being stupid. Because imagine you have a company that is profitable, it has revenues, and this company is moving forward in 80% capacity. And then you have a company that doesn't make any kind of revenues, it's not profitable, and they run in 20% of capacity. It doesn't make any sense. So the company who's not profitable, it should put everybody to work and try to push to the, let's say, to some kind of limits and to increase the productivity, to produce more, to be more effective, and so on. In the new company where I'm now, the company is not on an edge of bankruptcy. It will not bankrupt tomorrow, but it still is in 80% mode or 90% mode. They're constantly driving in the fifth gear if we have 6 gears. And you should be like that because you have to move forward all the time. You have to push. If you're not pushing, not doing your best, your competitors, I don't know, they will move forward, they will overpass you, and then you will become irrelevant. You will lose some markets, you will lose some profits, potential, and then you will not grow. If you don't grow, once more, you stagnate. If you stagnate, then basically you are moving backwards. So it's a path to bankruptcy in the long run. So that's why you always have to push and forward. Then, next thing, I have a little, let's say, note because it was a mind process. And I had to put all of those things in text and I will forget if I don't write it down. So innovation. What's that? It means that you have to constantly innovate. You have to be modern. You have to include modern things, modern technology, modern tools, and you have to push and be in line with what customers and world need today. They don't need floppy disk, they don't need printers, it's obsolete, it's past, it's ancient history. Today you need AI, generative AI, collaborational AI, this, that. So this is the technology, if you are talking about IT sector, that you need to incorporate in your products. If you're not innovating, you will very soon become irrelevant and obsolete in your industry. So that's it. Also, not only that you can innovate your product, you also have to innovate your internal business processes. You have to change. Maybe you know that in IT, the developers are using something that's called a sprint planning, Scrum, Kanban boards. No one says that tomorrow there will be something better, and that this will push you even more forward and give you more productive environment. So no one is saying that. Because today you're using this kind of process, it doesn't mean that tomorrow you will not have to learn something new and have to be able to adapt to this new process. Okay? Then next thing that you need to have, it's a good documentation. In this IT business where I'm in, documentation is always a pain in the ass for developers, for this, but you have to have documentation. Why? And it has to be up to date because it will speed up the process. It will speed up the onboarding process of new people. It will give better overview to other teams. You can feed those documents to AIs, and then you can chat with AI, asking him questions, and he will try to explain you the source code, how we are, I don't know, planning our sprint, how we are planning our roadmap, and so on. That's why we have, and then please use this AI to rewrite the documentation, to update documentation. It doesn't, especially today, it doesn't have to be a process that takes forever. Using AI and so on, he can write it in a matter of minutes, and then you can do some kind of revision or something like that, and you can review this document in, I don't know, 1 hour, and that's it. So instead of making the document by yourself for 2, 3, 5 days, you can be done with documentation in 1 hour. So you can see what's the power of today's technology. Please use it to your advantage. Then, one of the biggest things is management. Today, more than ever, it's very important to have good managers. Managers are people who manage what they manage. By first and foremost, they are managing people. They are managing their time, they're managing their tasks, and they're deciding how to convert the strategy and goals from the owner, from the topmost level of your management in your company, to a set of this definitive task that will move us towards that specific goals. And that's why you have to have a good management. A good management, basically, it's a mirror of the state of the company. If the management is old, they don't want to change, they don't want to learn, they don't want to push their people to be better and to invest in that people, to learn, to educate themselves, to use modern tools and so on. If they're in 1987, then rest assured that that company is on a good way and a good path to bankruptcy, to perish. That's why you have to have good management, starting from the CEO level and going down to the student level, to the lowest level. You have to have good management that are pushing, they're all pushing in the same direction to reach the goal. Okay? Then, what do you need? The next thing that you need, it's change. And it's basically something similar and related, closely related to innovation, to agile, and so on. Basically meaning that you constantly need to change. It doesn't matter that you have learned, I know, one program language yesterday. Tomorrow, maybe it will be obsolete and you will not use it. Doesn't matter if you were programming yesterday, tomorrow AI will do the programming and you will only be a prompt engineer that will somehow manage AI agents. And that is the programming, let's say, of the future. And you have to constantly change, include different kinds of technology, different kinds of procedures, include those AIs, Copilot, ChatGPTs in your process, and you have to do it. And many of the developers, they are afraid because they think that they will lose their value because they will, I don't know, use ChatGPT to make some kind of code, and that their value and then their importance in the company will fade. And it's true if they will, let's say, not do anything about it. If you take some actions and then group those agents and then manage them and then perform some task together with them in order to be quicker, faster, with less errors and so on, then you will become even greater and more important person in this company. But you will have to adapt. You will have to learn and use this new skill. That's how life is. You constantly need to change. The only thing that's constant in life is change. So you, first of all, me, you have to change and not ask from others. As we were learning before, you cannot change others. The only thing that you can change is yourself, how hard you work, and the set of skills that you have, and so on. That's why you have to change. Then, next thing, and very important thing, is ego. There is no place for ego in a good company. Of course, everybody has ego, but there is no place for such an ego that will drive deliberately this company into a brick wall, or when you fly a plane, to fly it directly into a mountain. So if you have a big ego issue, it's like you in a deaf room and you don't hear anything, you don't need to hear anything, and you don't want to hear anything, and basically you are driving the company as you like. And that's a very, very bad way to manage the company and to drive the company. That's why if you have a big ego issue, try to mitigate, try to reduce that ego, because there is no place for that. So everybody has to have some kind of self-criticism. Why? Because if you're taking some critics, and if you're self-criticized, then you can do something about it, you can change, and then you can be better. Okay? Mistakes always happen. Try to learn from them.